welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
You're listening to the 101st most popular podcast, as listened to by 10 people, both of whom understand binary.
Ian, welcome to Swift Half again, my friend. It's a Wednesday for us, Friday for our listeners. How are you doing?
Good, Alan, and it's a special episode.
Whoa. What's so special about it? Is it because I'm on it again?
Obviously, it's because you're on it again. But if you check the number, do you know what number this is?
Oh, I do, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
It's episode 123, Alan.
Does that mean we made 122 other rubbish episodes before we get to this one?
Oh, I reckon. No, actually, that's incorrect. We've had bonus episodes, so we've made at least 126 rubbish episodes before we got to one. Because we don't count. I was going to say, we don't really count the bonus Swift halves in the canon, do we?
We don't count. No, they're just straight up Fridays. That's when we do. We put episode just for the Fridays. We don't have no bonus ones in there.
Like when we did Swift half bonus, I think for World's Toughest Mudder, that was a bonus episode, and we didn't count it.
No, it was just Swift half World's Toughest Mudder. Yeah, hey, we could be on much more than what we actually think we are.
We probably are, or maybe we just do the Star Wars thing, and that's not canon. Nothing that happened in the bonus episodes actually happened. It's now just Swift half legends.
And there's a message just popped up on someone just in my ear that we're actually on 2.36 years, Ian, we've been going. How precise is that?
2.36. What does that convert into old money? What's that in months?
Well, 3/6 is like 1/3, isn't it? So that's 4. So that's 24, 28 months.
Yeah, that'll do. That math checks out, I think. Anyway, Alan, should we get on with the show?
Let's go on with this show. Just going to say, I've got to our listeners though, why that got whispered in my ear, because we've got James Burton with us. James, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Alan. How you doing? How you doing, Ian? You good?
I'm good. Good for seeing you. I don't have to put up with just Alan all night.
You love putting up with me. You love putting up with me, Ian.
It is true. After 123 odd episodes, you kind of get used to it.
How many's James been on, do we reckon?
I was just thinking that. I think I've been on at least 4 or 5, I reckon. And then listen to the vast majority of the others. It's a good staple on a Friday.
I think you've probably been on more. I bet you're on double figures.
I should keep count, shouldn't I? I have to go back and listen to them all again to find out which ones.
That's a good idea. Actually, every listener, other than episode 1, don't listen to that because we know James isn't on that. And quite frankly, it doesn't really sound like me and Alan are on that either. So ignore that. Start about episode 10 when we get... But episode 4 is quite good. Don't we have Kevin Martin on that? That's a good one.
That's a good one, yeah. That's a good one.
But yeah, listen to the Kevin Martin ones, 4 or 5, then start from 10 and listen to all of them and tell us how many James Burton's on, and we'll give it a patch to whoever gets closest.
Can I ask them, though, they've got to listen onto a different platform than they've already listened to, Ian, because then that gives us an extra click.
Right, so if you usually listen on Apple, fire up your Spotify. If you're usually on Spotify, fire up your Apple. If you're an Android listener, I don't know, download Stitcher or Google Play or something like that.
Deezer? Stitcher's going. I've noticed that. I got an email yesterday, Stitcher's going.
Yeah, Stitcher used to be really, really good for podcasts back in the day. And then all of a sudden, maybe when Sirius bought it, it was terrible. You'd put anything in the search bar and it'd bring up the same podcasts. And they must have been podcasts that Sirius produced. I think it was like Howard Stern or something like that.
What do you listen on to, James?
I'm Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Fluctuate between the two.
Go on, Ian, I interrupted you then, sorry.
No, I was going to say about Howard Stern, I don't think he knows about High Rocks or obstacle racing. So Stitcher, he's not the podcast I'm looking for. It doesn't matter soon. But yeah, Stitcher, you know what I used to love about Stitcher? It was one of the only podcast apps, other than, say, Deezer, that you could listen to podcasts in order without messing up. So say you wanted to listen to episode 1, you click that and then it go to episode 2. Whereas with something like Apple, it doesn't do it that way.
When I listen to Apple, if I'm listening to, I'm listening to Obstacle Racing Media. If I listen to the latest one, and then the next one it brings up is one that I haven't listened to, so it might be 5 or 6 episodes back where I might have missed it out. So yeah, it does. Yeah, that's strange. That
it is. It's not too bad for something like our show or Obstacle Racing Media, which everything's like standalone. It's like Monster of the Week type. Whereas something like I've been listening to ESPN 30 for 30, which quick plug for them, they do basically 4 to 5 episodes about a topic. It's really frustrating that you'll listen to episode 1 and then it will pull up, like you say, something completely unrelated.
Yeah, weird. Let's get to see what we're drinking, because everyone just tunes in for this part here. Let's go to James first, because I know James, he never disappoints. James, what are we drinking tonight?
Look at this.
Oh.
I've got Athletic Brewing Upside Dawn. I've been saving it. Been saving it since Henley for my next appearance on the Swiss. I do really like it, to be fair. It is nice.
I'm loving it.
Which Henley? 2022, 2021,
yeah,
2020?
It's not that long since Ernie was on.
I do recommend
that's
that.
true.
I know they get well plugged on the show, but Athletic Brewing is it's a nice beer, non-alcoholic.
Did you get any alcohol free from Tough Mudder at the weekend?
I was so tired, obviously, and also having to carry so much back to the car that I just couldn't bring myself to get the free alcohol, and the active drink's really nice as well. I couldn't even do that.
Yeah. It was. Ian, what you want?
Can I just go back to James talking about carrying to the car for a second?
Yeah.
James, wasn't your pit crew Mike Mussard?
Correct. Yeah.
Right, I'll speak to Solo's HR, because that's no way to treat you. He was doing your pit crew. Yeah, he should have arranged, even if he didn't carry it himself, he should have called concierge and get them to get the stuff back to you.
Oh,
Mike's
no.
powerful within TM. I'm sure he knows the TM concierge.
He was trying his best to get like a truck, but no, Mike was an absolute legend. He I was so lucky to kind of have his pit. But yeah, the cheek, he made me carry my stuff back. Couldn't believe it.
Like I say, I'll raise it with HR. Alan, can Wendy do Solo Mudder's HR too?
Yeah, because she can sack everybody, mate. Whoever you want sacking, she just sacks them all.
Absolutely.
Can I get myself?
Perfect.
I'm going to get myself banned now from every Tough Mudder going if I say this. But I was a bit cheeky, me, with my gear, James. So where we were, where the start line was, and you ran past the start line, didn't you? The pit crew on the left of the starting area. Well, I just took my stuff just past the other side of where the runners went, and I mean just past, like 10 meters past, dumped it in the field, yeah, just there, and then went and got my car and drove over all the field to it. Packed my car. So,
to be fair, the exit
Mudder.
was that way, wasn't it? It did kind of go around that way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's me, Bandian.
Oh, well, you lasted 2 years. Good enough.
What are you drinking, Ian?
I'm on Brewdog Nanny Stay, and I have drank a lot of AF on this show. I don't think I've ever drunk Nanny Stay.
I think you have. I'm sure you drank Nanny Stay, or someone's drank Nanny Stay on the show.
I think someone's drank Nanny Stay, but it's not my favourite. But I bought a box. Brewdog had a box of AF that they brought out for Christmas, and of course it didn't sell, so it's now on special offer at Morrison. So fantastic.
Lovely. Well, what I'm on, Ian, was part of my story I just told you there, of having to dump my stuff at the other side of the starting run, whatever you want to call it. The reason being is that Brewdog gave me 6 cases of beer, and it was all AF. I've got 6 cases of Punk AF. Cha-ching! Alcohol free for the next month.
No, I don't really like AF Punk that much. I think it might be the milk in it. For some strange reason, if I have it in a can, I actually feel it the next day, which you shouldn't do for an AF. And I don't have milk intolerance or anything like that, but I feel it. But if I drink it at a bar, I don't. So I don't know what they put in the can that we don't have on tap.
This actually, I quite like it. I don't know why. It's different. It's not normal like normal Punk. So I'm enjoying it. The postmodern classic. That's me now. I'm a postmodern classic now.
I've been saying that for years.
It's maybe one of those
modern.
Maybe one of those stupid question moments, Ian. Is there milk in beer?
There is often milk in alcohol-free beer.
Right.
Often in, for example, I know Punk AF definitely has it, and I can't see, it's way too small on this, but yeah, some AF beers have milk for some straight, presumably to help with the fermenting process, given there's no alcohol, or I could have just made that all up.
Well, it says lactose on mine, so that'll be the milk, won't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Every day's a school day. There we go.
There we go. Not many our listeners. Well, we touched on ETM. James, 9 laps. What do you think?
I was pretty pleased with 9 laps, I'll be honest. Yeah. It was good motivation, elite contender status for world's toughest mudder, which I didn't know about. And I was just running around the course and someone said 9 laps is elite contender status. So that kind of really fired me up. My goal was just to run the full 12 hours, which I literally did. I had 3 minutes to spare at the end. I was running it tight. So yeah, very pleased. Obviously, you finish where you finish in those kind of races. I would love to have finished high. I was 5th overall. There was 4 other people that did 90, and they all beat me. But yeah, my 3rd ETM. I haven't done it since 2018. I did the first 2 8 hours. It's the first time I've done 12 hours as well, which adds an extra level of difficulty, I think, just keeping going. But yeah, really pleased.
What did you, compared to the ones you'd done before, what did you think to it compared to the ones you'd done before?
It was similar experience, I would say. Yeah. I think the 2017 and 2018 had a couple more kind of bigger obstacles.
Yeah.
Like chunky monkey level obstacles.
Yeah.
They had Kong in the event village, which is always fun. And there was one, I can't remember what it was called. It was a bit like Well Swung, but it was in the air and you jumped and went to a rope. But otherwise, I think it was very similar in terms of organization and structure. I actually liked that they announced when obstacles were opening and closing ahead of time, because it allowed you to plan your gear and things like that. Although Arctic Enema was supposed to shut at 6 a.m. and it didn't. So that cost me an extra like 2 or 3 minutes, which was when I was running tight for the limit. I wasn't too happy about. But yeah, no, I think, again, another great race in the UK. I definitely say if anyone's not done an ETM or a similar kind of night race, they should definitely put it on the bucket list.
Definitely. I've got a mixed bag of feelings about it compared to last year. Yeah. I'm going to go through, I'm going to submit what my bad parts of it first, because I want to focus on the good parts. So for me, I thought, first of all, the pit allocation, you missed the old debacle. I'm going to call it debacle of pit allocation of spots of where you were, and they wouldn't let people go in certain places, and it was literally you rocked up and you went into the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. I think they need to do something different than that. I don't know what. Maybe put it on and let people pick early. The earlier you pick, the better spot you get, and allocate them early. I don't know, but it needs to be different. I'm going to say I don't think the obstacle placement was great. So, for instance, and I'll tell you which one it was. It was you went into pitfall, potentially got all wet, all muddy. Then you went onto hero walls. The first wall was fine, maybe a bit slippy, but that tabletop, that Irish table, coming off that, I thought it needed a lip on the end to help people down. Dropping from 8-9 foot was pretty scary. I saw 1 or 2 people go over on their ankles on that.
Yeah, that's probably true on that. I was jumping off most of the time, but yeah, if you're not comfortable doing that, then there was no way to pull you, like drop yourself down, was there?
You couldn't lower yourself, could you? Compared to last year, I didn't think the obstacles were open long enough either. Now, I don't know if it was just me, but it felt like you do it like Block Ness, for instance. I got 2 Block Nesses, and that's all I got. And I got 2 Everests, and I got 2 Arctic Enema. I didn't, and then some of the obstacles like Augustus Gloop not opening until 4 a.m. would have been a bit earlier, and same with Pole Dancer. I wanted them to be open a little bit earlier, I guess, or a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because the guys who were up on Augustus Gloop, bless them, the volunteers up there,
they
were up there all night till 4 a.m. like cheering everyone on, and with nothing to do. And then when it opened, they were in their element, and even more so. So big well done to all the marshals and that.
Oh, they were fantastic. Everyone, and I remember the guys on Augustus Gloop. They were like, "Are you coming back? It's opening soon. Come on, another lap."
Yeah, it was spot on. And then
interject. Sorry, I'm just going to interject here. because I wasn't there, listener, so I will act as the surrogate of someone who wasn't there. So they had volunteers at Augustus Gloop,
Yeah.
but they were just stood there, and presumably it wasn't on because they didn't have water safety. That's usually the limiting factor. That's why they turn it off. But could they? I'm just wondering, could they not have been used somewhere else on course and then move them to Gloop?
I guess they could have, but then would that have made people go up Augustus Gloop that shouldn't have? So they probably needed someone there to stop them going up.
I think that's what it was. I think it was certain obstacles where there was a risk if someone went on it, they were there. Others were just, there was no one there when it wasn't open.
Honestly, if you're crazy enough on ETM when you're trying to get distance to do a bonus obstacle, yeah, you're a moron. Sorry. I can appreciate it during a regular Tough Mudder, maybe, but no, I just can't. And I've been thinking about you were saying about the obstacle placement, because I've been thinking about this week, because there's this great shot of you looking absolutely soaking wet getting over skid marked.
Yep.
And I can't help but feel that maybe the obstacle placement was for the day race as opposed to a night, because during the day when it was scorching hot, I bet you would have been dry from pitfall to skid marked. It was that hot.
Definitely, and you're spot on there, because they put Mudder on after Mud Mile, and in the night time you came to Mudderhorn and you were struggling to get a grip. If you're on your own, it was so hard. I mean, I jumped up, grabbed it, and then I had to quickly grab the net behind to actually haul myself up. But then when I did it again early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning when the sun had come out, it was dry as a bone, So yeah, you are quite right there. I guess it could have been done for more for a day, but I think it's a little bit of better thought behind it. But talking about the obstacle placement and that and opening times, James, what did you think from 4 a.m.? You went through Reborn and then you had 3-4K running before you hit the next obstacle, which was everything had closed. Everything had closed between that and Cage Crawl, hadn't it?
Yes, around that. So Chunky Monkey had shut.
Loch Ness had shut.
It was a little bit of a
trench warfare. Everything had closed.
Yeah,
and it was like must have been 3 to 4K, which I guess maybe for you was going to get was a fast runner and that. It's pretty good. It's a good running section. But for a lot of people who are doing it for fun, if they'd have still been out there, I think they would have been pretty disappointed. I know I was. And I wouldn't call myself a runner. I run, but I won't call myself a runner. But I was disappointed that there was nothing to break up that 3K of running.
Yeah, I could have done with at least one in there at all times between that and Cage Crawl. Yeah. So.
It just needed one else. But I've got a whole list of good things. Can I go through my good things, Ian?
Go on then, Alan. You can go through your good things.
Distance. It was perfect, Ian. 10K or 10.1 kilometres. When have Tough Mudder ever got that right?
Yeah, that was weird. And can I check something? This may just be weird Strava thing, but the dog leg, up near Gloop and up near not Mud Mile, Kiss and Mud.
Yeah.
Was that mandatory every time, even when Gloop wasn't open? Did you still have to do that bit?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, all the way up.
Because I have seen some Stravas which, your Strava, Alan, is perfect, and there's this little gap on the dog leg.
Yeah.
There are some which have connected the gap. I don't want to cause controversy corner here, but I've just wanted to know. So it's obviously a problem with Strava there. It wasn't that they closed that area and people had snuck across.
I don't think so. There was potentially one area I did think where people could, and that was when we went over that A-bale, James. There was that fence, weren't there? We went over an A-bale and a fence, and you were literally right next. I mean, you were literally... When you went over that way, you could have touched other people coming back. It was that close together.
I think that's what Ian's saying there.
Yeah.
But there was a timing mat on that side because actually I was one of the last runners through and they were closing the timing mat when I came through. And it absolutely scared Mike because he was like, where's James? Where's James? He's not here. He's not gone over the mat. So, yeah, I think they would probably have detected, although they didn't flag it on my instance when I didn't go over the time mat. In theory, everyone goes over that and that's part of the check.
definitely.
That makes sense. And like I say, it was just weird. And I know, Alan, that you've got a very, very, very posh watch. So I suspect that if I'd been doing it, it would have been the case where mine would have looked like it was connected as well, because the GPS mine, I don't even know what mine is. I think it's a 35 or something like that, a Garmin. I still wind it up. But yeah, it was just one of those things that you spot. And I thought, I need to ask Alan that, whether they close that dog leg.
No, you literally did touch each other. He was literally there was
Yeah, it was.
string between each other, and that's all it was. My second one, Ian, you'll love this, Mud Mile. Now, I gave my band up on it. I'm going to be honest, it got my band every time, yeah, only because it was a proper mud mile, Ian. It was 8 ditches up, and then you spun round and came back 8 ditches. It wasn't a little mud mile. It wasn't one of these little 4 ditches. You couldn't jump them. Going up the bankings were quite steep, weren't they, James? They weren't like little gentle bankings. It was an amazing mud mile. Hats off.
It was very good, and it also wasn't obvious that you had to come back to start with. So lucky it was early on in the race, but you got to the first part and you're like, right, I'm going to run, and it's like, oh no, I've got to run back and do all that again. It was pretty horrible.
Oh, that would have been how they made it into 10K, because ordinarily on that, because I've done that course many times, you carry on and you go across a little bit of a bridge, don't you? Or alternatively, they sometimes send you in the lake, does what we're feeling. But yeah, they send you on and over the other bridge. That's how we got to 10K. Whereas I'm sure during the day, it was probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah, it probably were. It was absolutely perfect. I loved it.
I bet you would have preferred 11K as opposed to lots of mud mile.
It got my band in. I gave it my band every time. I wasn't going through it. It was like I walked up to after my 3rd lap. I was like, "Here is my band. I don't want to do this anymore." It took Rob, who I was running with, he flew through it, and it took him about 7 or 8 minutes. You know, it was taking me 10 to 12.
Yeah, it was long.
It got my band. Yeah, it was a times zapper, weren't it?
Sorry, carry on, James.
I've never had the bypass option. So the previous ETMs I didn't have that option. I quite liked that. Yeah. So although I did exactly the same and used it every time on Mud Mile, there was times I was like, do I give this up on Devil's Beard? And it was just, no, I'm going to have to deal with this pain because it is slightly quicker going through Devil's Beard versus Mud Mile.
Did you find you could bear crawl through Devil's Beard? I bear crawled it every time.
Most of the time. Yeah. Obviously you had to then slide under the little sections, but you could push up. Yeah.
When they changed it though, because first of all, you went through, I think it was 4, there were 4 cargo nets to start with. Then they added another one on, but then they also added another one on the top of the first one. So you actually, then people who went on their hands and knees, they were in so much pain going on top of a cargo net as well as under one. Like going through the middle of one, that was crazy.
Oh, that would have, and I always either bear crawl, or as it gets later on in the night, you can turn around and just stick your rear in the air and just like slide down your back. It works easier for me because of no hair and it goes straight through. But as it gets looser, that's the technique, is to effectively walk backwards. But interesting you say that about Mud Mile, and I need to document this, but on every Europe's Toughest Mudder, there's always one obstacle which in theory should be innocuous and no one cares about it, which is the hardest to do. So, for example, on the first one, birth canal, everyone was sort of used to birth canal being a nothing obstacle, and everyone hated it that first year. Devil's Beard has been there once or twice, and there's a few others which are just so, and it's always a must complete, and it's always one you don't think about it, do it.
Sewer Rat last year was for me. Last year it was Sewer Rat, this year it was Mud Mile.
Very true.
Next up, British Obstacle Sports officials, technical officials, James, they were absolutely brilliant. Not only were they there to enforce penalties, which the penalties were really good as well. I quite enjoyed the penalties, but they're also encouraging and everything else. They did everything perfect. Big shout to every one of them that rocked up. However, penalties, space hoppers should not be in there, all right? And I'll tell you my reason why, Ian. You're going to love this. I came off Augustus Glue, came down to pole dancer. I needed to go to the loo. The turtle's head was popping out, So I hit pole dancer and I thought, I'll jump halfway along, Yeah. I'm sure I could jump halfway and continue my swing and land over the bar. And I jumped halfway along, my left hand gave way and I just collapsed on the floor. So I had a penalty. Penalty was space hoppers. I am wanting to go to the toilet. Yeah. This is not a good feeling on space hoppers when you're wanting to go to the loo. So space hoppers are now banned. I luckily managed to get around it. But as I was running down the hill, there was toilets at the bottom of the hill, James. I don't know if you noticed there were toilets at the bottom of the hill. I was shouting to, big shout out to Joel, who was there with us, and also Rob. They were pulling my wetsuit off Ian. They were pulling my wetsuit down my shoulders as we were running because I had to get there really quickly. But yeah, stop the space hoppers. Ban the space hoppers, everyone. Let's start a ban space hoppers.
Space hoppers only for Nuclear Challenge Cup. Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Only the competitive. No. The penalties were good. I didn't have a good time on Chunky Monkey. I failed that a couple of times, so that I did the penalties. It was good. It was the twister. It just threw me going up, and I was trying to do what I did on normally in a Spartan with long arms, and I needed to go muscle up, and I kept on slipping off, which was frustrating. But that penalty was good, where you had to get like little bits of grit on a spoon and then fill up a cup. And
I found that quite easy because I quickly realised there were some big chunks.
I think everyone did to an extent. Yeah. And yes. I think the tactic that you said of using your wet hands and it still took time. And then I fell off hang tough once, and that was interesting penalty because you had to do 20 jumping jacks, and then it was a skill thing of throwing a ring onto a piece of wood, and if you failed you had to do 20 more and up to 100. So you could get out of it really quick, or you had to do 100, which I thought was quite interesting, adding a skill element into a penalty.
I thought that was really good. And I thought to me that was the best penalty of them all.
Yeah,
I thought that by far was a clear cut penalty. 20 jumping jacks, throw a ring on, miss it, another 20 until you got at least 100. But if you were good, you could cut it down to one throw and you'd 120. Love that.
Completely agree with you though, in terms of the British obstacle sports technical officials, they were great, and really loving the tops that they've all got now. Really stand out, which is all part of what we were planning to do there. And then just in general, the officials and the marshals, the MVPs, it was just such a great atmosphere, as it always is at Tough Mudder. You're going around and you get to know people you don't know each lap, because you're going around every time and chatting to them. It's great.
When Giles came on, Ian, and told us that it was going to make it tougher, I think he toughened it up just right. I think, like James just said, the twister on Chunky Monkey, the hang tough at the end, which was rings to the bar, to the rings, absolutely perfect level of toughness. I probably would have liked to maybe have seen a little step on Mudderhorn, purely because it was that slippy for people to get up to. If you're a short person, anyone under, I would say 5'8" would have really struggled to get up that on their own. They all needed help to get up that. But yeah, and my last good thing, Ian, you'll love this one. The kitchen area had hot water all night, all the way through the night into the morning. You could get hot chocolates all night. Perfect.
That is impressive. That is very impressive that we managed to keep it hot all night, because as you know, and as Will said, for World's Toughest, the hot water lasted about 3 hours, because what would happen is people would use it all the way and then they'd fill it up with cold water, but not put that cup on that says don't use it. So people would then drain it with lukewarm water and the whole process would start again.
There was someone in there all night, and they were making sure that it was filled. So that one person, or there might have been two, I don't know, taking it in turns. They were saying, no, we're using this one now, this one now, this one now. So yeah, there were hot water all night. It was absolutely brilliant.
James probably didn't even realise this, because I think, James, unless I'm mistaken, your combined pit time was about 7 minutes for all 9 laps?
It was pretty quick. It wasn't that quick, but I'm now starting to think like F1 strategy for World's Toughest Mudder. How do I make it quicker? But I think definitely with Mike's help, I think the longest I was in there at any point was 5 minutes, but most were like 2-3 minutes, including obviously the walkthrough. Did have some porridge on just before my last lap though, so I did make use of the hot water.
You didn't go
Good call.
wetsuit at all, did you, James? Or you didn't look like you had a wetsuit?
No,
on?
I did have a neoprene top.
Right.
So from I think lap 4, I had a neoprene top. And that was good because it had a zipper, so I could unzip it just when I was going through the water just to stay warm, and I was fine. Yeah, to be fair, it was good conditions to log some good times because it was. I've done ETM and it got very cold, and I didn't feel cold at all with the temperature.
No, I think we'll go through some times because we always get some times out and everything else and some laps and that. I think 9 laps won it, yeah. And as you said to me afterwards, like 9 laps would have won it last year. I think there was a few elements that made it that you had to do a little bit more this year. I think one, I don't think the obstacles were open long enough, so you didn't get as many obstacles on each lap. That's what it felt like to me. To the weather didn't affect anyone anywhere near as much. And then the penalties, it was because the penalties could be done fairly quickly, with the exception of maybe the 100 jumping jacks. But they took up a nice amount of time, but without too much time. Where I know before, you had to walk through the Lego and drink some of the weird and wonderful concoctions and that, which was always a little bit tougher. And I think we had some good people who run. You want to know the results, Ian?
Oh, then, Alan, because you know what? I actually haven't looked too much at the results. I think Heather won the ladies, but other than that, I've not looked at results. I knew that James got 9 laps, but no, I hadn't checked, Alan.
So in the ladies, you're right. Heather Bode won on 7 laps. Nikki Karumba, second place, 7 laps. Heidi Gotts, third with 6 laps, and she did that in 10 hours, 11 minutes. Big shout on the women's, though. 2 people. Ruth Battersea, who got 5th place. That's the first time she's ever run 60 kilometres. So, and the first time she's ever done Tough Mudder. First ever Tough Mudder ETM. And I think it's first ever Tough Mudder, I think she said as well, yeah. So first ever Tough Mudder and first ever ETM. And also Sharon Newton, who got 10th. We all know Sharon from the Solo Mudders. So big shout out to them too.
Sharon did amazing, and people probably don't even realise this, but she's not been tapering so much in that she's been doing races quite a few weeks back. She went and did what's that race where you get the medal with the man with the willy, which moves around?
South Downs, something was it?
That one, yeah, that one, and that was either last week or week before. So she's just putting up some great mileage at the moment, Sharon. So keep at it.
Yeah, big shout out to her. In the men's, Michael Schott, 9 laps in 10 hours 20. Pontus Diamond, 9 laps, 10 hours 46. Grant Thompson, 9 laps, 11:32. A couple of more shout outs there. Craig Derbyshire in 4th place. I think, if I remember rightly, I'm sure he was on the podium last year, Craig. James in 5th. And then we've got in 9th place, Kevin Dent in his first ever ETM. Took age group as well. And Leo Brimicum, we had on last week in his first ever Tough Mudder. He got 8 laps as well. So, and he got in 10th place. So top 10 finishes there. Well done to them all.
Well done. How did Alan Moore get on? Because I couldn't find him in the results. I did look at that part of the results. Like I said, I've not looked at them too much, but I could not find Alan Moore.
You won't find Alan Moore because Alan Moore didn't run, which was quite funny at registration when I turned around and said, Muddy Duck, and she went, but that's not what your ID says. I know, that's just who I am.
So you know who I am?
Yeah, I don't know who I am. When I went to get my band, Matt Brook threw it all out because I went, get me 3 laps. I went, Muddy Duck, and Matt went, it's Alan Moore. And bloke's been looking for Alan Moore, and I'm going, no, it's Muddy Duck. To make sure I'd done the lap. I got 67th overall, Ian. I'm pleased with that.
That is really good, Alan. And you got, more than last year?
Yes, 6 laps. So 2 more than last year, but I did go Nola Grey last year, so I did quit at 40. I probably would have got another one if I'd have wanted to. Didn't get the 8 I wanted. I know the reason why I didn't get the 8, and that was because I didn't run fast enough in the dark. I really slowed it down. The ground just wasn't for me. I just felt a little bit unsafe running on uneven ground in the dark. And I do a lot of dark running. I do a lot of running in the dark. It was running over grass that was just uneven, and I didn't like it. So I did slow it down. I was doing nearly 10-minute kilometres at some points running over there, which is, nowhere near where I'm capable of.
It's my pace. Just normally.
I'm going to see if I can get one up on James here. James, have you been for a recovery run?
I have today. Not 10 miles though. That I heard you were running yesterday though.
10 miles, 1 hour 40. I was quite 10-minute miles. I was quite pleased with that.
That is quite impressive.
Yeah, I was very pleased with it. I did blow up a little bit at 7.5 miles though. So I was running 9-minute miles, and then at 7.5 miles I had to really slow it down. I blew up. So, but yeah, I got my recovery. I wanted to put it on Strava as well. I wanted to put official recovery run, but I didn't.
You didn't. You did motivate me, Alan. I did listen to the last week's podcast. You were trying to beat me. So you can't use that hashtag just yet.
No, this week, no chance of that. Only 5 people can use it this week.
Just to give a shout out though to someone who did, Grant Thompson, up in Scotland. He was just behind me for the middle of the race, and yeah, he got a second wind, and I think his last 2 laps were the fastest of anyone out there. So yeah, I think his last lap was 1:04.
Wow.
He's just run 8 laps 1:04. By comparison, my last lap was 1:25, and very fast. I saw him go around. It's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to catch him on the last lap. Yeah, very impressive. So well done to Grant.
Amazing. I think he only beat you by a minute, didn't he? So he must have.
That was Craig. So I was
That was
catching Craig. Yeah, I didn't actually know what lap he was on. I think I was just happy to get 9 laps. I wasn't necessarily trying. Actually, there was someone, Matthew Walker, and I was convinced he was on the same lap as me, but telling me he was a lap behind. Turns out he was actually a lap behind. He was completely genuine, but I was like, I'm going to beat this guy because I'm not sure. I think he might be lying to me. These things that play out in your head. But he was a lap behind, but he was running really well.
So, Alan,
yeah,
have we reached the stage where you're going to give the big announcement about ETM?
Well, that is what I was going to say. So, if people hadn't already noticed, when they was doing the podium, I don't know if Matt Brook meant to say it or not, but he just said at the end in a passing comment, "We'll see you all next year at Yorkshire." And there was a bit of a hush. I don't know if you heard the hush, James, but it was like, what? We're going to Yorkshire for ETM. So Yorkshire, ETM next year.
Because it was Northwest last year, wasn't it? Not
Northwest,
Yorkshire.
Yeah, Northwest last year. It looks like they might be moving it around, different venues. I like this idea. But Yorkshire, Ian, I don't know if it's good or bad, because we all know Yorkshire's got the hill. It's
got one hill, which would be perfect for Devil's Beard.
Well, all the way up here, just
all the way
direction.
up there, just one direction. It'll end up like Human Centipede or something like that by the end of it, because people will just be so exhausted. But it depends, Alan, what they do, because of course next year they're going back to 10 to 12 miles.
Yeah.
Traditionally, ETM World's Toughest has been half a lap. It's always been about 5 miles. Are we going to take it back to 5 miles? Are we going to do it a 10-mile loop? A 10-mile loop sounds really, really like a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, this 10K, we had one water station in that was open. And because it was that hot, people were using it. It really needed 2 on because it was that hot throughout the night. Putting a 10-mile in, you're going to have several water stations. If we get that heat that we got this year, you've got to have several water stations. Otherwise, we're going to get proper dehydrated.
If it's the same weekend, you don't have to worry. It'll be raining.
But it's Yorkshire. It's always raining in Yorkshire.
That's true. But no, that particular weekend, because it's the intern's birthday weekend, for some reason, the last 5 years, it always rains. So, even last year when Matt came up, Matt B, it was raining for parts of it. Do you remember?
Yes, I do, actually. Yes, when he was recording, because I had to go into one of the tents to record with him.
Yeah, it's almost like clockwork that it rains at Tough Muddy Yorkshire that weekend. So wetsuits for all.
I just don't want to go up the hill. I'm going to book it as soon as it comes out, but I just don't want to go up that hill. That's my only forte.
Did you get
I think you'll have to, but I don't think they'll take you right the way to the top.
No.
Sorry, James.
I was going to say you can sign up now. 27th of July, 2024.
Yeah, but I can't because I have a tattoo, don't I? So I have to wait until December to get my code, and then I can sign up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gutted. So the idea I came up with earlier on about the sooner you sign up, the better you get your pit. Tough Mudder don't do that. Yeah. Because that's a flaw in my plan now.
Surely, if you have a tattoo of Tough Mudder, you should get priority pit. That feels like a no-brainer, Alan, right?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, I couldn't even use my my status and say to Gaz, who was doing it, "Do you know who I am, Gaz?" Because he was in that mood that he just didn't want to. Oh, he wanted to focus on a job. He had a job to do, and he was doing it. Bless him. So,
Alan, in your case, it'd be, yeah, I absolutely know who you are. You're over there, and he would have pointed you to the car park.
yeah, probably would. While we were doing Tough Mudder, James, did you see that the park run world record was broken on the Saturday morning?
I did, yes. I haven't seen too much about it, but I definitely saw, I think it was a Scottish runner, wasn't it, that smashed it?
Andy Bouchard ran the Silver Knolls Park Run near Edinburgh. I just, this time, 13:45. That is just crazy. I couldn't even dream about it. That's a pace of 239 kilometres. I wouldn't. I'm not even. I'm halfway round as he's finishing.
But can he do that having done Mud Mile?
Yeah. What's your park run, James?
PB?
Yeah.
1740 something. Yeah,
See,
I want to bring that down.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's not too shabby, but I definitely want to bring that down. But yeah, no, it's the leg speed of these people, and people might say that about me in a similar way. But I think there's always someone who's faster, right? And this guy is, well, apart from this guy, he's got no one to beat. But yeah, it's insane to get, like, what you say, 232 kilometers pace. Say,
yeah, 239. Yeah, 4 16-minute miles.
It's like running 400 meters at that speed. It's like probably impossible for me and most people, right? It's insane.
I don't think I could run 100 meters at that pace.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. But Ian, you brought something to my attention about Park Run.
I did. The Park Run discussion group, and James, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, there's a Park Run discussion group which has 30,000 members. As we're recording this, yesterday, as we're recording this, the group was put on pause, which means no one can post, no one can join. It was something the admins do.
Did they give a reason?
I think the reason is fairly obvious. And Alan, I brought this to your attention. Do you want to just read the post that happened before it got put on pause?
Yeah, so it says, do not share comments or screenshots from this group externally. Anyone caught doing this will be removed from the group immediately. And then there's a lot of comments saying afterwards, and I'm not going to read who's put these, but some of the comments are saying, really, what's happened, blah, blah, blah. This is social media, everything's public. And then literally within, less than 24 hours, it's been paused, the group. And it says it's been paused indefinitely. So, 30,000 members, 29.7 thousand members in a group that's been paused.
It's a difficult one because I can understand where they're kind of coming from, because people go on private groups thinking that they're private. And I don't want to be unkind here, but I'm going to come across as unkind. Some people within that particular group possibly are not as internet savvy as other people, if that makes sense. There's a lot of people on there who the only time they use Facebook is for that group. And there's nothing wrong with that. So they'll occasionally put things which seem a little bit naive or are easy to put fun at, like, just things like celebrating their achievements, which no problem with anyone celebrating their achievements. It's just sometimes with a group of 30,000 people putting on, I don't know, got a new PB today, fishing for compliments, just comes off, I don't know, a bit disingenuous. What do you reckon, Alan?
It's a private group, and people should be able to post private things in that group. Whether they get comments that are positive or comments that are not positive, that's down to group admins to control that. But if I go in that group and I'm normally running a 45-minute partner and I put in there, I've just done 43 minutes and 22 seconds, that's a massive achievement to me. And I think people should be saying well done on that. Some people are not going to be saying well done on that. Some will say, oh, well, you're older people, or whatever they're saying. But if someone's put that, and I don't know if that's in this instance it is, someone's then gone and screenshot that and posted it somewhere else and started to belittle that person, that is completely wrong. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but it does look to me like someone's been posting stuff outside the group that should be private. Now that's wrong.
No, I agree, and that's what I say, and that's why I do think it's a good policy, because there are lots of people on that group who I mentioned. I think they only really use that group. Unfortunately, because they only use that group, there is another example, Alan, of should we say, the darker side of that group, which is someone said, "Do you know how there is a tail walker at Park Run?"
Yeah.
And someone asked an innocent question of if it is a fast park run. And this has happened to me. My park run used to get about 40 people pre-COVID, and I've done the tail job. And the slowest person was a 35-minute 5K. So I had gone there for an easy time, having run there, and I found myself having to run to keep up with them. And someone asked the innocent question, if the last person is fast, what do you do? Do you keep up with them? Alan, what do you think you should do?
Run at whatever pace you want to run at. If you're the tail walker, you don't need to keep up with that person, as long as you don't overtake anyone.
Okay, James?
Yeah, I think there probably is an element of keeping up as like a sweeper, isn't there? But it's obviously within limits.
Yeah, within limits, and you run at your pace. But so this person asked that innocent question, and it got really vicious with people saying, "Oh, it's called a tail walker, so you should walk no matter what." And that is the dark side of that group, the militant side, which perhaps is the part which gets belittled a little bit.
I think that happens in a lot of groups. That's one of the reasons why I made UKOCR an open group, so that if someone wanted to belittle people, they could actually see who was it, because the admins can't check every post, every comment, everything else. And I felt at the time when I changed it from a private group to an open group, there were several people on there, and it was the same several people that were belittling people or individuals, and that's why I made that an open group. Then people can see who they are and decide whether they want to interact with them. But we also banned several people for it as well.
And like I said, I can definitely see both sides here when it comes to, on one side, there's no privacy on the internet. Just accept there's no privacy on the internet. But on the other side, if it's part of your group rules, don't take screenshots. Well, don't take screenshots. It's as simple as that. Yeah. What's actually hilarious though, Alan, is there's another group, which I won't name, but another group that is responsible for a lot of the mickey taking on this. And the admins of the Park Run discussion group are not in that group, but they encourage their friends to take screenshots of that group to send to them so they can ban people who talk bad about their group.
Well, that just doesn't make sense.
Who would have thought? The politics of parkrun, eh?
But yeah, but the politics
of park. Like I said, I haven't been paying much attention to it for ages, but I thought it was a good discussion about privacy on the internet. My view is often I don't actually look whether it's a private or an open group. I watch what I say because part of my job role, I have to.
Yeah.
So, but if it's part of the and I think some groups, I think you definitely should never, on the pain of death, take screenshots. So, for example, Mud and Mines, do not take screenshots in there. It is a safe space. And I will unfriend you if you ever share a Mud and Mind screenshots. And I don't mean on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
People we shouldn't be taking screenshots and that. There's no reason for it to be like that. But people do. I've had screenshots sent to me, and I just ignore them sometimes. I don't
Parkrun discussion group update from this evening. There is now a public group called the Parkrun discussion group with 406 members. Created 1 day ago.
There we go.
The plot thickens, eh?
The plot thickens.
But yeah, say Alan, I think I lean towards your side. Don't take screenshots, but on the other hand, don't get overly mad if someone does, because it's the internet and people be people.
Yeah, too right. Let's talk about something that's happening this weekend coming. Let's give an update on Total Warrior first, James. We're going to be there quite early.
We are. Yes. Do you want me to go? Do you want me to explain the plan?
Fire away. Yes, you fire away.
Yeah, so with Total Warrior, I think that I won't go into all the details because it was mentioned on the Who's Hot episode, but it will be run differently than most UKOCR series races because we want to protect the integrity of a competitive race. So you're going to have to be branded as a competitive runner. There's going to be some bands that you're going to be wearing as the competitive runner, and you're going to be registering with Alan after Total Warrior registration. You're going to go to Alan, get your bands. They're just to signify you as a competitive runner. We're not doing the band system when your bands are being cut or anything like that. And then you'll be set off all together with all the competitive runners. We'll have a few technical officials on the course, so the majority of the obstacles will be mandatory, or we will allow kind of, I think, athlete integrity. If there's a failure, you can come and speak to us at the end and do the penalty at the end, and that will be in the kind of information that goes out. But there'll be a couple which are failable that there'll be a 1 minute time penalty, most likely at the obstacle, but that will be kind of fully announced on Friday. So yeah, it should be good. I've signed up to run. I think it'll be some good numbers. Be competitive as always, and looking forward to it.
So am I. I'm going to put it out there right now as well, James. I'm going to be filming. So once we set off, I'm going to be filming, but I'm going to be following the women around.
Yeah,
all right. Not stalking, but I think the men have had enough coverage this year. I think the women need a bit of coverage. So I'm going to be filming the women live. Hashtag Total Warrior UKOCR. If anyone wants to follow it, look for it. But we'll be filming live on Facebook for it. So
I think that's great. I think it's something that kind of just naturally happens because the men generally are the ones out in front. Yep. So they end up getting filmed first, which means there's not as much coverage as the women. And I don't think any of the front male runners would absolutely care in terms of if that's kind of shared around and alternate between races, or you give a few kind of races with female focus. Absolutely makes complete sense. So yeah, good stuff. And
I might only be following 6th, 7th, and 8th place round, depending how fast I can run. So, yeah, great news. And then we've also got, am I right in saying Spartans this week, Ian?
Spartan is going to the home of Tough Mudder Midlands and hosting their Spartan Midlands event there. And they put a cryptic thing on Facebook this week, Alan. They said, get ready for barbed wire.
So do we think Kiss of Mud that we've had at ETM might well be a barbed wire crawl for Spartans?
I think that what they're probably going to do, and spoiler alert, is what they've done in the States. I reckon you're going to be barbed wire crawling to the start line.
Oh, yeah. I saw that on one. Didn't some of the more competitive runners, shall we call it, though, in the States, decide to just walk over the top of it or walk around it?
It did, but don't worry if you lost the band.
Right. Did you notice at ETM, James, as well, that the fun runners on Saturday and Sunday had to go through a mud pit to get into the starting box?
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah.
So they dug a mud pit literally right next to the starting area. So when you went up and down the things to get into it, you have to go through a bit of a mud pit to get into the start pen.
Nice,
so it got people a little bit muddy to start with.
I think it makes sense for kind of fun run races. I'm not a big fan in the competitive races. No. It's kind of like I'm focused on starting the race, not doing an obstacle before I've started. But yeah, I suspect if they've got it out on course, it will be longer because it was fairly short, wasn't it? Yeah. The one in Tough Mudder.
Yeah. But that makes me think here that this mud pit, if they just put some barbed wire across it, then you are going to get your starting box for the Spartans to go in through mud and barbed wire.
See, Alan, we don't just make this up. We do report the news before it happens.
Talking about reporting news, an event that's just gone, we haven't got the results for Wolf Run. You put on another amazing event. Well done. I heard good things about it, but we've got no results in.
Alan, did you win?
You know I have. I've ever told you that I won a Wolf Run once.
I don't think it ever came up, ever. James, have you heard this story?
I'll say I have.
I told everyone at ETM, I was going around just telling everyone that I won a race once. So I wasn't really.
That's actually weird. I'm just checking Wolf Run, their Facebook, because I hadn't checked until you said with no results. They've not even put the first runner through. They usually do that.
They
do. Yeah.
I know Jason Jacob and another guy were one of the front runners on one race.
I'm going to claim it. I won Wolf Run this year. I wasn't at ETMs, so I don't have that alibi. Prove I wasn't at Wolf Run and didn't win it.
Oh, you make me laugh so much with your predictions.
And I predicted I was winning as well. It's written right here. Give me a second. It's written right here. There we go.
So, listen, you haven't seen this, but my notes have just changed because it said Talk Wolf Run, and now it says Talk Wolf Run, Ian won. Well done, Ian.
Thank you. Should we go to some actual results?
Yes, give us some results. Deck of Spain. Is this what you're going to go to next?
Yeah, we'll go to Deck of Spain. We'll quickly touch on this, but it was Deck of Spain this weekend in Malaga. We talked about it last week. There was a lot of Team MyZone there, and I'll just go to the top three. I will say, Alan, that we know Decker is a Spartan company, yeah?
Yeah.
They took on board what we said about the flags and how hard it was to find out who was winning.
Yeah.
So the flags on this Decker thing are really easy to see. Unfortunately, they've ranked the elites in age group and not overall. So it's a good job. On our Instagram, we already have the results down.
They've got one thing right but messed up another, is what we're saying.
Exactly. So let's go to the ladies. First, Viola Oberlander was in first place from Team MyZone. We then had Jezebel Kremer from France in second place, and then Petra Avela. James, have I said that right? Because I think you know Petra from the Spartan scene.
I have to be honest, I don't, but it sounded perfect, the pronunciation, Ian. So
Yeah, Petra Avela was in third place. I think that might be her first fitness racing podium because she does a lot of Spartan. She's doing Spartan Ultra this weekend. But yeah, well done to Petra and all the ladies. In the men's, we had Alfonso in first place. We then had Ruben Patino in second place and Jesus Prieto in third place. Should say that the men's podium was completely Spanish runners, and I think that our friend James Muscat, Alan, he was either fourth or fifth. But what did happen is James and Viola, so James Muscat and Viola, went and won the co-ed doubles. And in the ladies' doubles, we had Aileen McCann and Talia Britton won again from Team MyZone. They won the ladies' doubles. So successful weekend for Team MyZone with lots of podiums.
Team MyZone straight across the board. It looks or close to it.
It does. We should also shout out Jessie Betts and Kat, who came in second place. They were also Team MyZone in the mix. And you know, if it wasn't that pesky James recruiting Viola, then they possibly could have won.
I like it. While we're on hybrid and Decker, let's talk about you, leaving me to be on a panel, of what's this panel called? Let me find the name of it. The Hybrid Fitness Top 20. What do you know about hybrid fitness, Ian? Because you're on this panel of 5-6 people that really know about stuff, and you're in there. Just your name just sticks out.
Yeah, I had one advantage.
What's your one advantage?
I'm European.
I did look at it and think that was very, very states heavy, shall we say?
Got to go for diversity. And the other advantage is I'm friends with the person who put it together. You could pick one of them as to why I was asked, but I took it incredibly serious. I did rank them, and we're not going to go through them here on the show, Alan. We'll just encourage people to go over to Hybrid Fitness Media, go on their Instagram. There's a link there, and just go and have a look at the athletes that they have ranked. I will say, I will spoil the top places because it was unanimous. And I don't think that's a secret. Hunter McIntyre is in first place on the power rankings, and Lauren Weeks is in first for the ladies. I don't think that surprises anyone, to be fair.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all. I think one of the things that, and I'm going to spoil it, one of the things that did surprise me was David McGeeder in 7th place above a lot of people that beat him well and truly at the Worlds.
Yeah. I'm going to be kind on this and just put it down to, at this moment in time, with it being the first set of rankings, people may have gone with familiarity, if that makes sense. So, and to be fair, there were people on the. We've all agreed on panel. We're not going to share who voted for what, because I don't think that's very fair. We're getting back to our Facebook discussion, aren't we? But yeah, it's probably not fair. But there are people who were voted by others who I didn't have on my list, and then I thought, oh, I probably didn't pick them because I'm overly familiar with European athletes. So, for example, Jarrett Newby's on there. I'll admit, Jarrett, if you're listening to this, I didn't vote for you because I've not really seen you at any events.
Yeah, I get that.
I reckon that, like the OCR WC power rankings, that as it develops, you will start to see things fall into place.
Yeah. I think we will. I think we might see them coming in and see them being more realistic. Very much like I want to see it a little bit like, golf, in terms of like the world rankings, and they get points for like moving up and down based on the last maybe 20 events or something like that. That would be cool, that Ian.
That would be cool. And the thing about Megiddo is he had one bad race, and this is a power rankings. It's not the replacement of the High Rocks World Championships by another name, and it's covering lots of events. So as well as High Rocks, it's covering Deca and a lot of American. So, for example, is Nick Riker on the list?
I don't know. I've gone off the list now. He wants me to go back to it and have a look back on it.
Well, Nick's only done one High Rocks, but he's done really well in Deca. So he was definitely someone worth voting for.
Yeah, he's not on there.
Is he in others receiving votes?
He got a vote. He got voted, but he's not in the top 20.
Right. But yeah, he's an example of some of them people who got in not because of High Rocks, but because of what else they did in the sport.
Yeah. Cool. I'm moving on to the next one, Ian, because we've got another. Last week we talked about Ram Run, with a cryptic message. This week we have got another race with a cryptic message saying, "You'll never guess what," and then a picture of happy, fun-loving runners. Mud Monsters Run.
Mud Monsters, was that the one with the really hard ninja rings?
Yeah. Have you ever done this one, James? They have a lot of obstacles that are very much, I won't say them in nuclear races tended to build obstacles at a very similar time. Mm-hmm. They had the rings, what do they call it? Like the rings where you put onto the
ninja rings. Yeah, you go up and down on them.
Yeah. They had them. They had a weaver virtually exactly the same as nuclear, if I remember rightly, as well as a few other obstacles. It was always muddy. It's called Mud Monsters, but it was always super muddy as well down there.
They used to win muddiest event a lot, actually. Yeah, I remember. I've not actually done it. So, yeah, I've just looked up the Facebook post as well. So, a bit of a cryptic, you'll never guess what message.
Yeah. So, is OCR back, Ian? OCR's back.
Do you still have access to the Dash of the Titans Facebook page?
I haven't tried, actually. I wonder if I have.
Just an idea.
Oh, that would be so funny.
We should have said this offline, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I don't think when I left, I gave up everything and left everything. So no, I know I haven't. So one more thing, James. We talked about ETM earlier on, and we've talked off air because we're gonna announce it, I guess, a little bit today that you are going to come on to do a bit of an interview, a bit of a Q&A with me. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll do a bit of a Q&A, not necessarily just myself. I think we'll put the word out there. Any questions that anyone has about British obstacle sports? We've got a lot of new members recently. We're up to 1,400 members and only 250 members away from starting our application to Sport England and the UK Sports Council. So I think there'll be a lot of people that don't know about what we're trying to achieve and what we're aiming to do to get the sport recognised. So we thought it'd be great to answer any questions that people have, really, and it can be anything. So if you guys want to put the message out there, any questions for the volunteers at British Obstacle Sports, we'll get the right people on, and we'll spend an hour chatting, and you guys can interrogate us and answer all the questions. We'll answer all questions as best we can. You don't need to not ask anything. So all questions answered session with British Obstacle Sports.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, because I think we did it, if I remember rightly, about 18 months ago when we initially got you and Becky on and chatted about stuff.
Sounds
But
right.
there's a lot of things happened in 18 months. British Obstacle Sports has moved forward. I think a lot of people have got questions that they want answering. We have seen a few comments. So email us in, messages in, admin@ukocr.com. We will ask the questions that you want answering, and we will put them to James and their team. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a brilliant idea that we get it out there. We explain everything to everyone. As you know, I'm a fan of British Obstacle Sports, but let's get the questions out there and the answers are out in the open. That's what we want. Everything's going to be. We talked about things hiding behind the scenes. British Obstacle Sports don't hide behind anything. You're always up front, always have been, and that's the way we like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'd always say as well, I've spoken to so many people since I've kind of taken on the role, always happy to chat one-on-one with members of the community. If they've got a question or a concern, to just feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure you'll find me on the internet somehow. Don't need to give details, but yeah, drop me a message and happy to chat to anyone in the community as well, one-on-one.
And a quick one before we go, James, strength or running, which is most important? I see this is a question we've got out there. Is it core strength and body strength or running ability that's more important?
Well, it all depends, doesn't it? That's the thing. It depends on the race. I would say in general at an obstacle race. Good question. I think once you've got a certain amount of core strength, running is more important if you're talking about competitive racing. But as a relatively good runner, when I first started obstacle racing, I had some appalling performances because I didn't have the core strength and the upper body strength. So, yeah, good question.
It's going to be a good discussion this year. When we get round to this discussion, Ian, it's going to be a very good discussion.
Maybe I should add this for the British Obstacle Sports questions. I'll just put this in. I'll email into, as well as emailing into admin@UKOCR. Should we also open it up on the various socials as well? Alan will do anything we can to get as many questions as possible. And if it has to be a two-parter episode, it has to be a two-parter. We'll get as many as we can.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you just let us know the theme, so if it's like a lot of coaching questions, we can get Dave Peters or Sean Wild. If it's technical officials, we could bring Joe on. So there's, based on the themes, we'll bring 2 or 3 other people and myself, and we'll answer them as best as possible.
Loving it. I'm loving it. I'm getting excited already, Ian.
Great. And we are notes of strength versus running, which eventually we will come to, listener.
Yes. We will eventually get to this one, Ian. Yes, we're out of notes.
So I'm going to say it's a goodbye from me.
James.
A goodbye from me.
And everyone, thank you for listening as always. It's been a pleasure discussing OCR with my 2 guests today, Ian as always and James. Thank you. Speak soon. Love you all. Bye.
Hold on, Alan. Ian, there's one more thing.
James.
Come back, come on.
One more thing.
Get the bar open. Well, exciting news. Being released it's probably not as a marketeer, probably not the best time to be releasing it, but we have listened to community feedback, and I think the British OCR Championships in 2023 was announced, and the date for that was announced after the weekend for Spartan was already planned and announced. So quite a lot of athletes had already made their plans for the Spartan weekend, and they kind of were forced into a decision because they'd booked their tickets, essentially. So 2024, we do have a 2-year agreement with Spartan currently for the British OCR Championships. So we will be returning in 2024 to a Spartan race, and we will be returning to Spartan. Oh, we won't be returning. We'll be going to, for the first time, Spartan Midlands. In Grantham.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
middle of the country as well.
Middle of the country. One of the key objectives was to move further north for 2024, which I'm really glad to do. And I know there's a lot more of the country to go, but yeah. I think it's the furthest the British Championships has ever been northwise. So I'm really excited about that. And it's going to be, I should get the date, wouldn't I?
The dates are always good. This is our job to forget things like this, isn't it?
Are we right in presuming it will likely be around this time next year, or are they shifting their Midlands event?
Now it'd be around this time. It's going to be Saturday, June 29th, 2024.
Saturday, June 29th. So you could do the British obstacle race, and then that gives you 4 weeks training for Europe's toughest mudder. Perfect, Alan. No wonder they're sending it to Yorkshire.
Exactly. It's perfect timing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be 3 weeks after, for those that are going, 3 weeks after the OCR European Championship. So good amount of time after that. Finer details to be confirmed, likely to be slightly longer than this year, which is 12K, but all to be confirmed. But we just want to get the date out there and people can start to make plans for 2024, and really excited. Spartan also, I've got a few additional ideas that are going to extend what we're doing this year, which is already going to be great with bespoke obstacles. So more to be revealed on that, but it's going to continue to evolve. And again, it's got elements of what Spartan race is, but additional parts too, which is what we wanted the British Championships to be.
Sounds
James,
perfect.
I've got a question. I'm sorry, I'm just cutting in, Alan. I've got a question that people ask. This year's championships is October time.
October 8th. Yeah.
October 8th. Next year, it's going to be June time. In terms of qualification, that's quite tight. Have you decided yet what you're doing?
We haven't. I suspect that, so it will be again, that it will be elite, that is qualification age group there'll be some form of event attendance, but it won't be a qualification system, partly because it's just too much voluntary time to manage, and I don't think we're quite ready for that as well. But I think more than likely the actual British Championships this year will be a qualification for next year as well, and then we'll have some competitive events at the start of the season too.
Brilliant. And will UKOCR series can we still be part of this as well for next year in 2024? Can the British Champions still be a part of our series too?
100%. I think it's obviously worked quite nicely this year with it being the finale. Yep. So we're going to have to build a new finale in for 2024 with you guys. But it should 100% be a series race. Looking forward to that.
Don't worry about that, James. We will just postpone the UKOCR 2023 championships from this year that we were talking about last episode to next year, and that can be the season finale. I'm going to get banned out.
Yep.
Again, listener, complete joke, absolutely complete joke. There is one British Championship, and James has just announced it.
Yes. And on that note, listener, once again, thank you for listening to us. James, absolutely brilliant. Thank you for pulling us back there before we left and letting us know about that. It's absolutely amazing news. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Ian, we'll speak later. James, thank you.
Thank you.